Okay, so how did the shapes go for you?
I think I'm okay with telling what kind of shapes these are and their relationship, but when it comes to using the shapes for my own designs, struggling.
Okay, let me just take a look at this one. Yeah, and it's like if you were to extract these shapes from any of these designs, really, and you did extract them, they can kind of make a graphic design logo. Like that's how simple the shapes should be. For example, if you took that information, let's use a hard round brush, a C shape going into an A, going into an upside down C, and then like a V, these little offshoots, right? I mean, I did it very sloppily, but the read is simple, and that's why it works so well. Same thing here. I'm glad you did that. It's like it's a very obvious cross. There's a C shape there, and within that you have this Triforce triangle and a reverse triangle for the negative space, and these two triangles down there. Very easy. So, how do we take that kind of mentality and apply it to your own design? So let's grab that. And so the same analysis that you did on these, as well as the other ones, like the Gandalf. What's this from?
This is Mr. Danny Diaz.
Yes, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can analyze them very easily. So if we go to this and try to do an analysis, which you can do of your own work at will, it's like I can see a triangle here, triangle there, triangle here. Like that.
I am trying to use triangle.
Right. The question is, if we turn this off.
You're kind of not
what?
It's messy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, does this read as a simple logo?
Oh, no.
So we're going to come back to that design. But in this case, how can we simplify that into a more readable logo? So I do like the structure that you have here. So let's go ahead and use that in mind. But let's start with that first triangle. Let's just keep that. And then for this, I'm going to put a little bit further down so that we have some nice space between them. And for the next one, which is this guy here, it's like building out like a puzzle. What we have here is kind of close in it's not exactly the same shape, the same size, but it's close enough. So I actually want to emphasize that, make it way bigger. Now, maybe that's not the design you're going for. I understand, but just as an example, here's what we'll try. And then same thing over here. We have the opposing one. In this case, I'm going to imagine there's a center line that we're going to reflect that on top of over as if it was 3D. So you'd end up with something like this. And then for the character, we're going to have her sit probably a little bit smaller, actually. Because if I had the character... Actually, let's do the other legs first. So for the other legs, I'm going to do something like that with enough negative space in between. And then the reflection of it. So if I take the character and I put it in the middle, and we'll pretend that this is what we're working with. It's really close to the sides. It's causing a lot of visual tension. And what we want to do is, like, if we were to, make a portrait of this, you wouldn't crop it right here, right? There needs to be enough breathing room to say, hey, there's the character. We don't want to encroach on the personal space there. So you might try making the character pretty small like this, so that all the other shapes become a framing device. And while this isn't a simple logo, it's simpler than the jumble that it was before. So based on that, we can bring back our design, and then let's actually extend the canvas. I'm guessing that's like a little frog or a big frog or something.
Spider frog.
Ugh, okay. So yeah, you'd have like I just don't like spiders. I'm terrified of them. Nothing to do with your work or anything. But yeah, you'd have like these arms do something like that. You would have the frog here. It might look silly with this iteration, but this is the kind of I guess, ideation process you could do, because the arms now look like they're coming out of the mouth. So we don't want that. So we might have to move this down a little bit. That's fine. Whatever. And then the other legs, and the other legs. Maybe even make the back legs really big.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have our character over here. But now it's like we can appreciate this character design because it's being framed, and it's like there's no horizontal tangents, whereas over here it's meeting right there. We don't want that.
Yeah.
You want to either make this like lower or way higher. So you'd end up with something like this. Maybe move them back up to here. Make them really small. But I would say that for video games especially, a clear silhouette like this will work much better than a jumbled one like that. Got it?
Yep, got it. I think I have trouble simplifying the shapes down.
Well, what you can do is practice is like grab one of these dudes and then like, sure, you could, do an exact study of it and like with the A shape and the C. Or what you can do is take that information and then start messing around with it and changing things up. Like what if there's two C shapes and the arms are going down like this, and then the hat is like that, and then whatever. But basically test yourself and see if you can design or iterate this dude's cousin or like somebody who's a member of his team, and you kind of keep going. And like, what if instead of the body being an A shape like that, what if it's like a big U, upside down U? So it's like a wider character, which makes the legs further apart and makes the hat. This is a bit goofy, but that's the idea. And that way, like, you don't have to design very much, but it still lets you go through the process of interpreting information for technically your own design, just based on something that exists. Right. And I think,
yeah, that's a really good practice.
Thank you.
I think I will adopt like pushing and pulling the proportions and make.
Yeah. And then before you know it, it's like, well, okay, well, I started with that. What if I erase this and make this more of a C shape, and then turn that other C shapes upside down into an S shape? And instead of those legs, we'll do thicker legs that are more centered, and make that cape longer. Now this is your own design. Right.
How'd you do that?
So,
oh my god.
So it's like, there's the whole steal like an artist. Like, that's one way to go about doing it. And it's not like, if you complete this design and you paint it up with colors and iteration and like you put details, they might look at this and say, hey, that looks a little similar. But if you introduce another influence, maybe like photo reference, or like add a bit of sci-fi tech, whatever, you mix up enough stuff that it's something completely new and completely different. And that's kind of a secret cheat.
Nice.
Yeah.